Hey everybody, thanks for checking out today's Multiphonic-a-Day video. My name is Ben, I'm a bassoonist based in Chicago, and I've been recording and uploading one of these videos every day that I'm on self-isolation during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. This is day 24 of self-isolation and day 22 of Multiphonic-a-Day. I'm really excited today to have Dana Jessen on as a guest. Dana is an extraordinary bassoonist and improviser. I first met her when I was at Oberlin, and she was just a huge inspiration for me there. Really blew my mind and was really kind and just kind of opening up my idea of what the bassoon could do and what I could do on the bassoon. So it's really special to have you here, Dana. Thank you for
Yeah,
doing this.
thanks for having me.
Of course. And can you just start with talking a little bit about your artistic practice with the bassoon and maybe how multiphonics are tied into that?
Yeah, totally. So, as Ben mentioned, I'm a bassoonist. I specialize in contemporary music primarily. I'm also an improviser and a teacher. As a bassoonist, I play in a couple different settings, primarily with my group Splinter Reeds, which is a contemporary reed quintet. I also do a lot of commissions for solo pieces with electronics. So I've worked with some people like Sam Pluta, George Lewis, Paula Matthewson, a handful of other people. And yeah, I think I, like many people, just sort of got into contemporary music when I was in school and started exploring the repertoire, which is, multiphonics tend to be one of the first techniques that you start to learn when you start getting into contemporary music and start learning extended techniques. So for me, multiphonics have actually been a part of my musical life since I was an undergrad, since I started actually exploring some really interesting contemporary pieces. Um, and I continue to use multiphonics and explore all the different kinds of sound worlds that they can create as an improviser. I certainly, when I work with composers, they often, like a pretty common question that composers will ask you is, what's your favorite multiphonic to
Yeah.
play? Which is kind of similar to what's going to happen today. And then they write it in their piece. So it's really interesting to kind of see that relationship between the bassoonist and the multiphonic through an actual composition. So you might think of someone like Pascal Galois, and you can think of all of the different multiphonics that are in pieces by, Olga Nauworth or Berio or whatever, and you can see,
Yeah.
oh, those are Galois multiphonics. Those
Yeah.
are ones that work really well on his instrument.
Right.
Um, so I can give you, the thing about multiphonics is that they are very different between bassoon setups.
Yeah.
So I will tell you off the bat that I play on a Fox 601 bassoon. I play on a Lightsinger vocal. And that might mean that my multiphonic fingerings might sound different than if a person playing on a Heckel bassoon were to play that same fingering with just a different reed setup, a different bogle, different instrument, right? So I play on a 601, and I can share with you my favorite multiphonic.
Let's do it.
Let's do
Yes.
it. So I'm going to play this multiphonic for you, but I'll tell you why it's my favorite. It's a multiphonic that speaks really easily. It's also a multiphonic that has a pretty wide dynamic range, so it's something that I can actually play quite softly, and I can get really loud on it. And it's also a multiphonic that I can kind of pinpoint some specific pitches and do a sort of smooth transition between the multiphonic and a pitch and back to the multiphonic. So I'll just play a couple of versions of it for you.
Yes.
um, and yeah, go ahead.
I love it. And I especially like kind of your laundry list of the things that you like about, like, this is a multiphonic that has it all, right? You know,
Totally.
it's like, this is, you want to be able to play it at these different dynamic ranges. You want to be able to manipulate it to get different things to come out. And yeah, that's something that all of my favorite multiphonics, I would say those are kind of like the criteria that I'm looking for. Um,
Right, exactly. It's kind of the perfect, or for at least for my setup, it's the perfect stable multiphonic where I know I'm going to play this fingering and I know what's going to come out, and I know that it's
mhm.
not going to be super unstable. I know that I can play it kind of at a soft dynamic. I didn't quite get a loud dynamic in there. I'm a little nervous it's going to click, but
Sure.
I can do
Yeah.
a slightly louder version too. But also just that, there is some, you know, there's a whole range of possibilities with it, again, going between those pitches.
Yeah.
The fingering, which I'll show you in just a minute, is also a fingering that um, is easy to kind of jump back and forth between other things. So
Hmm.
let's see. So this is the multiphonic here. It's
Uh-huh.
basically just a low F sharp, taking off the right hand second finger, the A key, right?
Hmm.
So, and another thing that's really great about this is that if you can see my cursor on here, if you
Yeah.
start doing a little tremolo on this B, you can also do some nice sort of tremolo trills with it. So, or doing that
Yeah.
with the F sharp key. So it's really, really has a pretty wide range of possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And so, how did you find this multiphonic? Was this one that you discovered like through experimentation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I feel like this is one of those multiphonics that I've now used it so much that I can't even remember where the
Hmm.
first time I've seen it.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
embarrassed that I can't quite remember what the first thing I saw it in, or that I used it on. I'm not actually sure, but I can guarantee it's in a bunch of pieces
Right.
that I've collaborated with composers on.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that one, it shows up in Sky's piece that she wrote for me and
It
Will. Yeah.
okay, yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I definitely sent that. It's in her piece for Splinter too, which is
Yeah.
actually that's a great piece if we're talking about multiphonics too. There's
Hmm.
She goes back and forth between four different multiphonics in the bassoon part for hers,
Hmm.
including that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm curious for you, like in your practice of improvising. That's like some of my favorite sounds on the bassoon that I've found have been through like getting to a place, improvising, and then being like, oh, like I gotta remember this, right? Like, is that a part of your practice that you think about consciously of like searching for certain things when you're improvising?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm improvising, I don't go into it trying to search for things. I try to be super open
Hmm.
about finding things through the journey, or through, if I'm, accidentally lift up a finger and I didn't mean to lift up a finger, but then it creates this really awesome multiphonic, or this awesome, quarter tone or something like that. It's more about having a sort of open mind to go into those situations, to be ready to have those moments. So I
Hmm.
think for multiphonics, probably the ones that I've come to the most through improv have actually been more like overtone
Hmm.
multiphonics, and overtone multiphonics where I place my teeth on the reed. So those are some of the ones that I really like, because when I'm improvising, I'll tend to actually do a lot of teeth on reed playing, and those can be really nice for multiphonics. Can play a couple of those for you too if you
That would
want.
be awesome. Yeah.
So, for anyone who's not sure what the overtone multiphonics, it's essentially fingering a low note on our instrument. So thinking like the lowest register, low B flat, low B, low C, but adjusting your embouchure in a way that you might think about playing like you're in your upper register versus your low register, right?
Right.
So in your low register, it really should be open and low kind of embouchure, but in the upper register, it's a little bit more focused, right? So. So that's a low B, and the actual note, the tones that it's getting are, octave, 2 octaves above it, the 5th, the 7th, all of those kind of come in there, and those are really fun to mess around with.
Yeah.
They have, I think of those multiphonics as having really a physical quality to it, kind of in a way that, like if you're to play, with a bass player or a cellist, like they have such a physicality to their instrument.
Yeah.
And I think like those multiphonics embody that type of physicality. So if you're in the middle of an improv and you want to just have this like really physical, moment, those are great ones to go to. And then the ones with the teeth on the reed are kind of doing the same thing, but again, you're just placing your teeth on the reed. So this will be fingering a low B flat.
Oh man, that sounds so good. I could listen to that all day. That's, it's so great because it's like, with the teeth on the reed, you're able to activate some of these really high partials, but there's this still kind of this like throbbing, pulsating low B flat in there. And I also love this, where you kind of hear like one partial starting to break, but it's like right on the edge, and then it goes, oh. Yeah. I've never done those with teeth on the reed. Actually, I gotta try that.
You should try it. Yeah, they're really great. And also, because like I use them when I go back and forth. I'm not sure if I have the right reed for this, but some of the super high register stuff. So like thinking like a G, F, G above right spring C. Oh yeah. So like going, actually Peter Swenson's piece that we worked together on, this solo piece called Fireflies in Winter, goes back and forth between that high G and the low B flat multiphonic. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are nice to go kind of jump between the two extreme.
Yeah. Oh man. And we should put a little plug in for your album here.
Okay.
Because that piece is on the album.
On Carve,
yeah. So Dana's solo album Carve is something that everyone should listen to. It's got five pieces that you commissioned for.
It's 4 new pieces.
4 new pieces, and then there are these interludes, improvised interludes that are just like mind-bogglingly good. I mean, I love all the pieces, but it's like that's the part of the album that I love most of all. So that's, for any like bassoonists or just anyone who loves really amazing sounds on the bassoon and really great improvisation, like I think that's a must-have. Anything else that you want to say about multiphonics before we call it?
I think we covered all my favorite ones.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've got like the rest of my afternoon. I'm gonna be messing around with these things for sure. Thank you. Like it's always. I mean, I remember the first time I heard you play at the Frank Lloyd Wright House in
Yeah,
Oberlin,
right.
and it was like I was probably a junior, maybe a sophomore. I think I was a sophomore at the time, and I remember just like being like what? Like I think I went up to you and I was like, what did you like? What are you doing? You know? And it's like now like having heard you play a lot since then. Some of the stuff you're doing is like it's like okay, I have an idea of what you're doing. It doesn't mean I could do it necessarily, but then it's like every time there's still something in there. Like when you played at Constellation, there were some of those like crazy high
Oh
things that
yeah.
you were. I was like, what the fuck? And so it's always an education for me, and I really appreciate you sharing these things. It's really been great.
For sure. Thank you.